welcome to the latest edition of Red Army TV. Here we're at the posh place today. We're upstairs in the Gold Room at the Dickens Inn. Got a lot to chat about, and we've got two fantastic guests on the bench. Mr. Bari Chohan, nice to see you again, Bari.
Nice to see you, Mark.
And out on the right there, he's one of our own, Mr. Chris Lofthouse.
We're Facebook friends, come on.
I know, come on. The thing is there, what I've done there, I like to keep them hanging. That's the problem. Loads to talk about, fellas. We've got a Norwich review. We've got obviously the game last night to talk about. Loads and loads to talk about. So let's go straight into it with Norwich. And I've got loads of questions to ask because for me, I was here a couple of weeks ago and I was chatting saying that the Boro weren't playing a typical Tony Pulis way. I look at the Norwich game, and we're going to come on to the Bolton game very shortly. It looked very typical Tony Pulis. I thought some of the tactics were possibly negative. But Chris, what do you think about the tactics? Was it the old Tony Pulis style?
I think it would be too easy to because of these negative connotations that we've got about Tony Pulis's tactics, and everyone perceives him to be this negative coach. It would be easy to blame any poor game that we have on that's a Tony Pulis game. I think it was just a scrappy game of football. Similar to the Bolton game, I know we're going to come on to that in a second, but I think it was just a scrappy game of football, to be honest.
I mean, Barry, Chris just said it there, anyone who's anyone will always blame Tony Pulis, and I've been quite openly and said I'm a Tony Pulis convert. I was when he first...
You're not the only one, yeah.
I'm not the only one. I was a bit and ahhing about him coming in. But to be fair, he's proved me wrong, and I'm over the moon that he's proved me wrong.
I'm the same as you. I'm a Tony Pulis convert. I've had the connotations of West Brom, Stoke, his past record. However, you have to also give other teams a credit. In this division, there's a marginal difference between all teams. Mm-hmm. And other teams will then set up, and their coaches will try and negate what we can do. And after having a reasonable run where we looked quite attacking, even at 3 at the back and 2 wing backs, 5 in the middle, it seemed to work, and we were getting the right results. I think Norwich unlocked us, and as we were speaking earlier, we were more rigid. For 20 minutes we looked like we were in it. I thought it was good for a point, and it was a scrappy goal that they got, but they negated us. A bit like when we come to the Bolton game, they lined up well to stop us. So I don't think it was a typical Tony Pulis strategy or side. It was the way the game panned out. Norwich are always a difficult team. We don't get very good results there, generally. They have a vociferous crowd, 26,000 all the time, nearly full. So I think they contained us. We had to adapt, and we didn't, and therefore we became rigid, and we did not have that extra spark or inventiveness that we've needed all season.
I mean, what I found strange, fellas, is obviously Martin Braithwaite coming back off the international break, he pledged his allegiance to the Boro. We all seen the tweet. It was out there, great PR. And then we were chatting about him all week, and then he found himself on the bench.
He didn't play, yeah.
Chris, what do you find about that?
We've touched on this before on the Monday Night Show, and we've talked about when he didn't play at Leeds, things like that. Is it Tony Pulis kind of saying, look, you'll play when I'll tell you you're going to play? You don't choose when you're going to come and play for the football club, but you'll play when I give you the chance. There might be a bit of that in it. Obviously, Jordan Hugel's come into the team. He's not really had much of a sniff. He's had a couple of cup games. He might be looking to give him a bit more of a role to try and see what he's like, whether he wants to keep him at the end of the season, that kind of thing. And then you've got rotation, you've got fitness. You might want to keep Braithwaite fresh, because the way he does play, he's always playing at 100 miles an hour. You can't do that every game for the whole season, so you might just be trying to keep him fresh. But whether there's an ulterior motive behind it, I'm not sure.
I mean, Barry obviously did come on in the game. I mean, I don't know about you, he excites me, Braithwaite. He's a good player.
He's a class player. You can see his head and shoulders above all the others, even as an international. However, I don't think he's happy at the actual role he's been given all the time. And I think we will get better out of him. But to go back to the gist of the point, is he going to get a game with 5 in the middle playing?
Yeah.
I think he's going to stick with the ones he had, and he's bought Saville, and Saville's going to be the player that will be probably edging to keep him out, I think.
Yeah, and maybe take over once he leaves at the end of the season.
I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
There's obviously something being struck for him to leave.
Just to go back to your point there, Barry, that he might not be playing the kind of role that he wants to play. Before he left, he was playing, out on the wing, and so really, if he's come back into the team and he's playing a more central role and he's dropping deep to get the ball as he likes to do, that's what he wants to do. So. For me, he's in his natural position as he's been playing. Yeah,
he's more of an inside forward support to the centre forward than a left winger. I'd agree with you on
Definitely,
that. But he's probably been effective and got the 3 or 4 goals that he got last season.
He had a decent World Cup. Obviously, he didn't have the World Cup to set the world on fire that people were going to come in and offer big money and get the move that he was potentially touting. But for me, I've said it before on the show. I'd love Tony Pulis to put his arm around him like he did with like he did with Traore. He got him fired, and I'd love him to put his arm around him and get him on side. I think he's a fantastic player for the Boro. Poor goal to concede. I think we've both chatted away about that. I just thought it was a bit of a tippy-tappy game, wasn't it, the Norwich game? And it was a poor game. I thought Clayton's comments were really good and really honest as well, what he said. What do you make about that, Chris, when he said, basically he said that the Boro went at the races.
Went at the races,
and I think he said something like, we need to get home, have a good meal and get straight back at it.
I chuckled at that, because that's every fan's dream, isn't it? Go home, have a good meal. I think Tony Pulis is a straight-talking gaffer. And I think that maybe, and Clayton's, there's probably a bit of that in him as well. But if that's rubbing out across the team, and everybody knows, everybody in the squad knows that Tony Pulis is going to tell it how it is, and as long as the team can sort of do the same thing, I'm quite happy with that. There's no point clouding issues.
I think the balance in the team at Norwich was offset, and they never quite settled into the rhythm, and that could be Norwich stopping us. However, Clayton's comment is fair, because I think 3 or 4 of the players were not at their peak, were not at their best, and having had 2 weeks off for most of the players other than the international ones, they should have been rested, they should have been ready, and Pulis will say that he hasn't got them psyched and ready for the game. As I said, I watched the Norwich game closely because I thought we would get a result there, and as scrappy as it was, they contained us.
Did you hear Tony Pulis' comments after the game last night? And he said he blames himself a little bit for not rotating the team and resting the players a bit.
Hold your horses there, Chris, because we're going to come on to that. You've heard what the guys have had to say. Let's hear what you've got to say on the old Twittery thing, social media. Let's go over to Matt and see what you've got to say on social media.
Right, you've all been twittering away on social media about the last 2 Boro games. So let's see what you guys have been saying, starting off with Nick. Nick says, how good is Clayton for the Boro at the minute? The bloke is a machine. What type of machine? Block and Decker drill? Something like that, I don't know. He's everywhere. The absolute first name on the team sheet for me. Awesome fella. UTB Jamesy, a good result at Boro Bolton. Played the role of Championship Cadden fodder perfectly, but you still have to put them away. Gary at Fat-Headed Cornet. Wasn't a classic, but 3 vital points in keeping the Riverside a fortress. Back to second, and we go again on Saturday against Swansea. Bring it on. And finally, Gibson is king. Dull game, but 3 points efficient and job done. Impressed with Saville. Didn't put a foot wrong and always looked to get in the box. Clayton and Howson played well, also though McLean looked useful in his 20 minutes on the pitch. So plenty to talk about there, guys. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Matt, and you keep that old social media, Facebook, Twittery thing coming in, and Matt keeps all on top of that. We've got loads to talk about the Bolton game. Fellas, I'm glad we're talking about things. I think one of the comments there was about Clayton. I think he's an honest player. I think he's been really good. Bear in mind there was talk of him leaving under the last manager where he wasn't getting in. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. It moves us straight onto Bolton. Obviously, the bounce back, we wanted it. Clayton mentioned it in his chat. Pulis mentioned it. It's not about the way you lose games, it's about the way you bounce back. Obviously, a debut for Saville, which I thought, I'm not going to say it was an outstanding debut. Got a goal though. Chris, do you think he's a man who's going to fit in and play week in, week out?
He definitely looks like the kind of player that we already... Well, I say we're overstaffed in midfield. He looks like the kind of player that we already have. And he fits into the team well. Again, as you said, he didn't really set the world on fire, but he didn't set a foot wrong. There's a couple of fans have maybe had a little bit of a twist online saying that he took the safe option, you know, whenever he had the ball. But I'm all for that. Our first goal came from a Bolton mistake, they lost the ball, we scored. If we don't lose the ball, they're not going to score.
Well, hold your horses, fellas. We're just going to go and have one of them quick breaks where we have to make a little bit of money. Join us after the break. We're going to chat with these two fellas in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Red Army TV. Fellas, loads to talk about. So obviously we were all there at the Bolton game. For me, I thought we dominated the first 20 minutes. I don't know about you guys. I thought we were, you know...
I think throughout the game we were dominant. They didn't really have any shots during the game. I think three chances, one on target. But overall, we didn't seem to have that final killer pass or the killer touch. 1-0. We looked comfortable. They didn't look like they were going to score, but it still makes you, you shouldn't become complacent and you get nervous. And you could feel the nerves in the crowd.
A little bit, yeah, definitely.
And until Brit finished it off in extra time virtually, we looked comfortable, and I thought 2-0 didn't flatter us. We should have had maybe more with having 11 corners, no real direct shots from them.
I mean, I've got to agree. I mean, I don't think in any doubt we looked under the caution, you know. I'd like to say they had a little spell, didn't they? Where
it was a bit ding-dong for a little while, wasn't it?
We were always in control.
5 or 10 minutes towards the end.
Obviously, we quickly chatted about Saville getting his goal. I think he's a great acquisition. Whether he's going to be the man to replace Braithwaite full time, only time will tell.
Could I just go back on the point about Clayton?
Yeah.
Clayton has established himself fully. Before, in the last few seasons, you would be saying, Grant should be in the team.
Yeah.
And now, if you notice, Grant's not even really getting a mention. Therefore, Pulis has done a fantastic job. He's brought in extra players in midfield, so we have plenty. And as the ones who will be going and have gone, you'll find that Clayton will be a main kingpin at the back. And you've got Bessick, Howson, and Saville now in the middle. And I think we will stock for midfield.
Definitely,
I think he's played a long time in the Championship, and I think it's about 8 seasons.
He's a quality player.
He really is a well-established Championship player. I mean, other substitutions last night, obviously, Bessic's come on. I don't think he really got into the game.
No.
McQueen, Chris, what do you make about him? Come on, made his debut.
Again, I know nothing about him other than what we saw last night. Never heard of him. Never saw him play for his parent club. But he looked physically, he looked bigger and stronger than I thought he would. You know, most fullbacks, or there's not many fullbacks or you know wingers that are kind of stocky, apart from Traore, obviously. So yeah, physically he looked quite strong, and he was trying to muscle himself about a bit, and he linked up quite well with George Friend for a little while. But yeah, I mean, time will tell. Time will tell.
He's another natural left-sided player who can fit all the 3 roles. However, I think, which is surprising for Pulis, who tends to be very dogmatic in how he plays, he's brought on all the 3 substitutes to give him a run. That a few minutes at the end when it looked comfortable, and they weren't really getting at us even after their 10-minute sort of surge. But it worked, because I think I would have brought maybe Britt on at half-time, because I think Hugill had done his bit, he'd run.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't come on for Hugill, actually, yeah.
And the other 2, it was to give them a run out so that everybody feels part of it. That's the feeling I got from them type of substitutions at that part of the game.
I mean,
they didn't really change the game much. They didn't change the dynamic of things at all.
I mean, we've mentioned, haven't we, that obviously, you know, we wanted to bounce back, and the gaffer and the players were saying, you know, it's not how you lose games, it's how you come back. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, we did that. I read some social media and some reports saying that the Boro really never started, they didn't get off, we weren't firing. And I think, to be fair to that, if I'm going to be honest, to look at that, maybe before the international break we were a little bit more attacking, and we were a bit more disciplined.
We were more aggressive. But give Bolton their due. I know I've pleaded the case for both Norwich and Bolton. Bolton have won 3 away, and drawn one. They were unbeaten. So
Yeah, I think
couldn't break us down.
and we haven't had another goal scored against us. So 3 goals in 9
with a clean
games,
sheet. Yeah.
not to be complained.
Again, it's something the gaffer. That's
That's
the
his-
gaffer
that's
prides
his-
himself,
that-
doesn't he?
that-
You know,
that is his
clean
forte.
sheets. He
Forte.
prides himself. on
Definitely,
clean
yeah.
sheets. Big defenders,
Yeah.
clean sheets. Does it matter though, Chris? Does it matter the manner of the win? I mean, I know.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think given the result that we had away at Norwich, where we were beaten, and we weren't soundly beaten, it was another tight, scrappy game. I think it would have been naive tactically to say, right, we're at home, we're going to attack, we're going to go all out attack, we're going to go for a 4 or 5-0 win against a Bolton team, which really on paper should be beaten. I think if we'd approached the game in that manner, it would have just left ourselves open at the back for another defeat. So Tony Pulis knows what he's doing. He's won me over. I trust him fully, and you know he knows exactly what he's doing in playing the Bolton game in the way that we did.
I think he strategises each game quite well, and as with you, I'm converted. I like Pulis. I like his honesty.
Yeah.
And he's not ruffled, and that's coming through with the players. Look, after
Yeah.
a Norwich defeat and all such a good work at the beginning of the season, they weren't ruffled. They said, right, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
But we could have done better against Bolton. They were there for the taking, even though, as I said, they've had a good record.
Well, that was my next question, fellas. I mean, did we make it a little bit hard for ourselves? Because, you know, we were chatting earlier on. I think when West Brom came to the Riverside, I thought they were really well set out. I didn't think the trouble was much, but they were well set out. I thought Bolton last night, you can see why they haven't lost. Because they were well set out, they were disciplined. But did we make it hard for ourselves? I thought some of our passing was a little bit.
It was a bit
untidy,
loose, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. And there was a few times, especially late in the second half, Ayala was trying to make kind of these long pinpoint passes that were just going to no one. You know, long clearances that were just hoofed out with nobody in the the area that they were kicking the ball towards. So it wasn't desperate, but it wasn't quality.
The final ball was poor.
Yeah, as well.
Both in crosses from all the corners, all the crosses that were put in. We didn't really get many past first man.
I mean, that's just doing my presenter bit, you know, because we have to sort of like, you know, look at the negatives. For me, though, as a Boro fan, chatting to you guys now, I mean, if someone had offered me this at the start of the season, I'd have been doing flip-flacks.
Would have grabbed both your hands.
So, as a Boro fan, there's not a lot we should be worried about. And in Tony, we've got to trust, because, like I say, I am a convert. I was thinking it's going to be negative, but he's come in, he's done the job for us. He's a straight-talking manager. He's a really old-fashioned manager, if I can say that.
Yeah.
Bring a bit of philosophy into it, like Machiavelli said, the ends justify the means.
That's correct.
And he's a ends man, and he gets the justification in the.
So we're going to go on, obviously, game at the weekend. We're going to move on to Swansea.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things we have to say about the Swansea game at home. We've been informed by the club that fan zone and the North Stand, there's going to be a bit of a fun day. We've got, there's going to be stalls. I think there's a live band playing. So that's before the game, up until kick-off, and then after the game as well. So get yourselves down there, enjoy that. The club have put it on for the fan zone. That's at the back of the North Stand. Fellas, Swansea, different game altogether in my eyes.
Yeah.
Obviously, Premier League side coming down. Have them lost many players? It's one of them teams where I look at it and think, really, I haven't heard much about them.
Yeah.
They haven't sort of signed anyone massively.
They've cashed in on what they had.
They've done a little bit like West Brom. West Brom, come down from the division, retained the vast majority of the players. Not really signed anyone massive. I mean, West Brom signed, Dwight Gale, but I see it being a similar sort of game.
I think Swansea will probably be a harder team to play against. They'll play football. They have tended to play it on the deck. They're not a long ball.
Do we think the likes of Mo Besic might be seen back in the side, starting? Do we think there'll be some? Obviously, there will be changes from the Bolton game. He always looks at it, doesn't he? The gaffer as 3 games in a week. He looks at it.
He said exactly that on the radio last night.
Against player, he'll see which players are best suited to get the gaps in the Swansea game, and it will be. They will be the more organised side we played, I think. So it will be harder, and I think that it will be a more telling game from the midfield. So I think he'll go for more seasoned players in the middle.
So do you think, looking at the game the Bolton game to the weekend's game, Swansea, do we think it'll be more attacking wise with it being at home, or do we still think it'll be?
I think it'll be a balanced team. It'll be a balanced team that he sends out, because he could have, as I said earlier, he could have went out all out attack against Bolton and been, caught at the back. He won't want to risk that, so I think it'll be a balanced team. Judging by his comments last night, and he said, I'll give myself a bit of criticism for not changing the team and rotating it and letting players have a bit of a rest. He might change the team up, but I don't think he's the kind of manager that would make changes just for the sake of making changes. As Barry said, he'll look at the team that he's playing and the players that he's playing against and match them up.
Well, I'm going to come on and ask you predictions, fellas, but what I must say to you is, for all you lovely people out there, don't forget that obviously Red Army TV is on the Teesside TV channel, which is Friday at 8 o'clock on Freeview Channel 7 or Virgin 159. And please don't forget where Chris is hosting that show, Red Army Social, on a Monday night with a new start time of 7:30 p.m. So tune in on Facebook and watch that show. Fellas, before we round this up and finish it off, prediction Swansea, Chris?
1-0.
1-0 Boro.
I agree, 1-0.
1-0. Well, I'm going to sit on the fence and say 4-1 to the Boro. Thank you very much indeed, fellas, for joining us. It's been fantastic.
Nice to finish on a laugh.
Join us next week on Red Army TV.